evening, everyone. My name is Arthur Franzak. I'm the chair of the Norfolk Advisory Committee. We are holding these meetings online due to the pandemic, and we appreciate folks joining us. I would ask that everyone who connects, please make sure if you go down to the participant icon and click on that, you can click on your name and make sure we have your first and last name on your I don't know what you call it, your tile, your participant icon. It's also helpful having both of those because we like knowing who we're letting into the meeting. So please set that up. We are going to be recorded this evening. Hopefully the agenda will be short. Let me put my little script here. So we will start, the agenda tonight is going to include a review of warrant articles that we have yet to vote on. We have 2 minutes to approve. We're going to talk a bit about logistics about the upcoming town meeting, and we also have to assign articles to write up. When I do start going through the warrant articles, we will have discussion on each article. The way I conduct this is I ask for advisory committee members to ask questions. People ask questions by going again to that wonderful participants icon. And at the bottom of that, you'll find a raise your hand button. That queues everybody up. I will answer people's questions in the order which they raise their hand. Also, please, if you could limit yourself to one question and then a follow-up question. If you have more than 2 questions to ask, I ask that you just raise your hand again after that. We do want to ensure participation as well as answers. I find that if we have too many questions at once, then it's difficult for the person who's speaking or responding to kind of keep track of everything. So I believe that smaller chunks are a beautiful thing. Ask that people please be additive. If something's already been stated, if you have something new to share, that's great. And lastly, I would like to discuss sort of a point of order that came up at our last meeting. I've spoken with various people about this, and generally the format that I try to hold to is I will go over the agenda, and in the agenda, again, as I said, we'll stop by each item. We'll cover warrant articles, for example. We'll have that particular discussion. And then at some point, I call for motions. I like having a certain amount of discussion prior to people voting on things. However, there are times when people believe that, well, enough has been said. Perhaps we're not making constructive use of time. In those cases, I ask that committee members make a motion to basically discontinue and stop discussion, to end discussion. Anyone at any time can move to end discussion. I will then call that particular vote. Trying to be a little bit formal about this just because I want to make sure that when this has happened in the past, certain members are like, okay, well, does this mean because somebody made a motion to actually vote on the article? It can create some confusion that the discussion is not quite over yet. So again, make a motion to end discussion, and we will take a vote on that and proceed accordingly. I also am finding that sometimes I'm really eager to get the sense of what the advisory committee is thinking. It can be challenging to moderate so many people and get a sense of where people are at. And I find that when I want to get a sense of things, I will just call for a vote. That is not the same as a motion. If we can use the little up and down thumb voting feature in the participants list just to make it quicker, that's great. Again, sometimes I just want to get a sense of do people want to entertain new possibilities or whatnot. By making a motion to that effect, I find it actually confuses voting on the article with me just trying to understand better where people want to then take the discussion and the debate. So again, I may just ask for voice votes or just quick votes to understand where most people are at sort of conceptually as the meeting develops. And if somebody believes that we've talked about something and we're just going on too much, please make a formal motion to then end discussion. Are there any questions about these procedural thoughts and I hope improvements? Oh, let me pull my participant list, sorry. Gotta look at that. I see no hands raised. Oh, Mr. Lutz, yes, sir. And you are muted, sir. Still muted.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
When you take a thumbs up, don't we have to sort of say where we're at? Do you know what I'm saying? From a public meeting perspective, shouldn't you sort of say, well, people want me to continue. I've got the sense of 5 members or something like that, or?
I mean, I can read it out. We're not formally moving on something, so we're not.
No,
really
I understand that, but shouldn't you, if you ask for us to go like this online, no one can see it but you, right?
I believe I can. When we vote, can people see that? I don't know. So I'm voting no on something. Brian has voted yes. Can everyone see that, or is it just me?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think you're, as the moderator, I think you're in charge of that.
I can see your stuff, Art. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have to click on participants, but if you
Yes. Well, I can also ask for further clarification. I can just try.
No,
voice votes to start.
I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm just saying you may want to say, well, I got a sense of the committee. We want to move on with this or something like that.
Okay, yeah, well, I can definitely mention those particulars. If we feel like I'll do it that way. I will then verbally, for the record, recap what I'm seeing.
That's all I meant was
Okay.
sort of like, yeah, we want to move on this, or we're done with this or something like that. You know,
I definitely want to be transparent about it, but the intention of this is I just don't want people to feel like they're being taken hostage in terms of a discussion that I'm just not perhaps tracking where the rest of you would like to go.
and I agree.
Okay, so that covers the procedural questions. I will now take attendance. Where did my magic pencil go? Here we go. Okay, going in alphabetical order, please respond that you are present. Kristen Balish.
Here.
Brian Bichkowski.
Here.
I am present. Michael Huff.
Here.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Here.
Susan Klein.
Here.
David Lutz.
Here.
Kiara Moore.
Here.
Susan Jacobson, our administrator, is also with us. Yes, Susan?
Here.
Excellent. And representing the town, we have Blythe Robinson with us tonight.
Here.
And Todd Lindmark, our finance director.
Here as well.
Excellent. Okay, on to the agenda. First item.
Excuse me, Art.
Yes, please.
We have Kevin Calcutt here too. Just didn't
Yes,
want to
Kevin.
forget him.
Thank you. Yeah, I never know if Kevin kind of likes staying in a little more in the background or.
He's live.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. The articles. So just to reiterate, we'll go through this sequentially. Article 1. Oh, yeah, let me pull up my. Okay. So many windows. Chat window, participant window. Okay, let me try sharing. Share screen. Okay, I believe the warrant is up for everyone's edification. Let me try making it a little bit bigger. Alrighty, so Article 1 requires no action. And let me know if I get any of these wrong, Susan Jacobson. Article 2, approved. Article 3, I believe we're going to deal with.
Hold on. Article 2 was IP'd.
IP.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. IP'd. Unanimously IP'd. Thank you. Article 3 deals with transfers the day of. Now, we do have a transfer sheet. I don't know if it was worth going over this to some extent now, Blythe and or Todd, or if folks just want to wait until the meeting before town meeting starts.
So we just felt it was important to give you a sense of where things stand, which is why Todd put this together today. It's a total of just under $218,000, and you can see where it's coming from and where it's going. And so we're both here. We can answer questions that you may have about that. We don't expect it to change significantly. The only thing that's been a bit of a challenge is unemployment expenses. They have gone up, and we're not quite sure that all of them are really, all the cases are really correct in ours, so we're working through that, but this is where we are as of June 3rd.
quick question. These transfers they're listed as FY21 transfers, but the ambulance debt says it's for the FY21 repayment of the debt. How does that work without declaring it part of free cash and then using it as free cash in 21?
So as part of the transfers from FY20, you'll see ambulance receipts of 60,000 specifically identified. We're moving the ambulance receipts money to ambulance account, which is an account that we have on ambulance. And we had discussions a while back when we purchased the ambulance that we would use ambulance receipt monies to pay off the ambulance over a 5-year period. So this is just to move the monies into the ambulance account from the receipts. And that's Visa done this transfer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Todd, can we just stay on that for 1 second? Todd, can we just clarify why on the bottom on the 2 section it says FY21? Shouldn't this be still in FY20?
Well, we'll be making the payment in FY21. So
So-
we're transferring the monies now to go into the ambulance account for the
21 budget.
FY21.
Okay, I just want to make sure we were clear.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan Hurwitz, yes, you had a question.
Yeah, just a question on the town council expense line. Does that represent kind of the normal course of business, or were there any spikes due to any litigation that we're trying to cover or projecting there?
I would say it's been an expensive year. We've had, and I will get you tomorrow. I keep a spreadsheet of how the bill breaks down every month, so I can send that along to you. We've spent money on various pieces of litigation. We've also spent money on public records requests, town meeting, obviously. There's a general category. And we did have one employee investigation earlier in the year. So I would say it's not been typical. It's been much higher than we would have wanted. And I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. David Lutz. Yes, Mr. Lutz, your question.
The DLS revaluation assessor, I may have missed it in a previous meeting. What is this for? I mean, I know what DLS is, a Division of Local Services. You have to do the revaluation. Have we had to hire someone or pay someone more?
Yes, this is what the DLS valuation every 5 years. We're on a rotation where we did have to do 100% revaluation of the town. And these monies would then be utilized to contract with Vision, which is our provider of assessor services. Currently, they would come on board and help us with doing the full revaluation. Normally, this would be about a little over $60,000 and change, but we were able to negotiate some of the costs with Vision. And this also includes the reevaluation. We also have to pay $2,000 for evaluation of all utility companies. We have 3 of them in the town. So that's a $6,000 that's attributable to this. And then we also have to pay personal property, which is also a little bit more expensive this year because of the full revaluation.
And these are meant to be spent in the upcoming year?
Correct.
Thank you.
We have to contract technically as soon as town meeting's over to get these guys rolling, because technically they should have been starting probably back about March. Unfortunately, just timing of events prohibited us from getting this taken care of. So here we are, and it's going to be a little bit of a time crunch in order to get the full revalue done in a couple of months.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that the advisory committee has regarding the transfers or this Article 3? Any questions from the general public who have joined us tonight? Okay. Oh, yeah, Susan. Yes, you have a question. Susan Klein.
Yes. Sorry, just thinking about it. Blythe, when you said it's been an unusually large legal fee year, are you referring to any specific action that has been taken? Is there something specific to this year that has increased the costs?
You're muted, Blythe.
There were a couple of legal cases that finally come to resolution. 43 Rockwood Road, 144 Seekonk Street. We've had a few contracts that needed to be, vetted by town council. We had a lot of, we had a number of acceptances of public ways that required legal work and title work to vet so that the town can accept them. We've had spent some money on public records requests. I'm just trying to recall the list off the top of my head. That's why I said to Jonathan, I'll send it in the morning and it'll give you a month by month breakdown of how we've spent that money.
Okay, I was just checking to see if there was one or two certain, more, were there any high profile, like that's what I was more getting at. Obviously I can wait for the breakdown though.
Yeah.
If there wasn't any one thing that would stick out, in your head that would be different.
There was the investigation on a complaints against an employee. That was probably about $11,000. I'm just not recalling off the top of my head which were besides that, the higher expense items.
Okay, thank you, Blythe.
We pull it up, I will do that.
Okay, well, I can wait for you to send it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Which brings us to Article 4, which does require us to vote. Blythe, do you have a overview for us here?
Here we go. Yes, so this is typically on every warrant, and for the last number of years, the non-union employees have received the same level of cost of living adjustment as the clerical union. It's been 1.5%. In this year's budget, early on in the budget, in February or so, I had proposed to the board that we include a lower COLA. Thought that was more appropriate for the town. So the overall increase for non-union employees would be a 0.5% COLA and the step increase, which is per our compensation schedule, been 2.5% for a total of 3%. We are still working with our unions to try to resolve the closure of the budget for next year, the $205,000 the town needs to reduce. And so as I sit here with you tonight, I'm not sure whether I want this to be indefinitely postponed or approved. So I would beg your indulgence to wait on this until perhaps as late as the night of town meeting. I do plan to resolve this in the next week, but I'm not ready to tell you what the answer is tonight because I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan Hurwitz had a question. Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I raised my hand before your last statement, but in deference to the waiting on this, can I ask I realize this might be a little speculative, but I'll try anyway. If the negotiations with the unions go according to plan or result in the cost savings you're looking for from the budget perspective, so if it ends up in a kind of a favorable outcome, so to speak, what would the COLA increase or the percentage increase be for the unions? Just trying to, I realize it's not a fair comparison, but if it comes out the way we're angling, would it be a 0.5% increase for the union side? Would it be a decrease, higher or lower? I'm just trying to gauge where we are with this ask in relation to what we're asking the unions to support as well.
So the strategy is that the whatever the decrease is for the unions, it would be the same for the non-union employees. Okay. Everyone would receive the same decrease. And so if our negotiations are fruitful, then I would ask you to indefinitely postpone this article because we would not include this increase in the budget.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay, sounds like it's not a follow-up. So thank you for the question, Jonathan, and Blythe's clarification. I see no other hands up from the committee members or general public. Okay, so Do people wish to discuss this? Does somebody want to make a motion? Again, the
Well, I
choice
think
is here. Yes,
think
all right,
she
go ahead.
just, I'm sorry, I think she just said that if she gets the reductions that she's asking for, she wants us to IP it. So I don't know that we can vote on it because she wants us to IP it if she gets the reductions, but we can't IP it yet because we don't know if she's getting the reductions. Did I understand that correctly?
You did, Susan.
Okay, so we'll postpone this until the day of town meeting or the meeting before town meeting.
If I can, I'm sorry, one quick follow-up. Maybe I
Sure.
didn't understand. If we get the reductions we're looking for with the unions, the ask will be to IP this, right? So it's in
Correct.
line. Okay, so if that's the case, outcome number one is we vote to IP this. If we don't get the reductions from the unions that you're hoping for, would we still not look to IP this? Or like, I guess what would be the anticipated ask from the town in that case, right? If we're constrained with budget and we don't get the cost savings from the union, are we then going to say, well, to be fair for non-union employees, we're going to ask for a pay increase, albeit a small one? Like, just what would the expected ask of the town be in that case if the union negotiations aren't fruitful?
That would be that I would look to other areas of the budget to make reductions and honor the contracts with the unions. And I would not recommend that we treat the non-union employees differently just because we can. I know that's not necessarily everybody's preference, but I wouldn't see the folks who are responsible, for departments and doing, that level of work treated less just because it's possible. And so I would look to make other reductions in the budget, and we're working on those at the same time we're negotiating.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Lutz, yes, sir, David.
I would want to put in my own 2 cents is that I've worked in government for most of my career, and managers are always asked to take something that the union folks can't take when we have a crisis like this. And depending on what the other cuts are, I would frankly, as a manager, I would be prepared to say maybe managers shouldn't get an increase this year.
Well, I appreciate that. Let me also remind you that this is already less of an increase than all other groups are getting, and that the managers are used to receiving. It's already less.
But I've taken cuts in certain years, so working for government.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. So we are comfortable with holding off any action on this until the day or the meeting before. I keep correcting myself because we haven't clarified if we're at. So I'm assuming that we are going to find a place to then meet the day of town meeting prior to town meeting. Blythe will let us know, as I think we discussed earlier, if that can't work or if we have to make some other arrangement. All righty, so moving on, Article 5 we voted on and passed, as I recall, although it was a split vote.
5-3.
5-3, correct. Article 6, I believe that passed unanimously. Article 7, the same. Article 8, we IP'd, correct, Susan? Jacobson?
Correct.
As well as Article 9. And
Correct.
brings us to Article 10, which we are doing the day of town meeting. True?
I have that it's already been voted.
Oh,
We
already been
voted
voted on,
this
sorry.
several weeks ago.
Yep,
Okay. And so that was approved, Susan?
correct,
Okay, yes, thank you.
With one abstention.
correct.
Very good. 11, which we need to take action upon. Blythe, can you go ahead and summarize 11 for us here?
So I worked with Sue on this a little earlier, and it's my understanding that the advisory committee usually takes no position on this, so that's what's reflected in the warrant right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will just say and leave it as is. Let sleeping articles lie.
So if I can add to Arthur, I think that, and we'll find out at the moderators meeting, but I don't think we're gonna be taking committee reports this town meeting because we're trying to get through this meeting as quickly as possible.
I thought the B1 was going to make a short presentation. I thought I heard that.
Okay.
Really?
Just telling you what I thought I heard.
The last I have heard, again, things change, so don't take this as absolute fact, but this was brought up before I had told the B1 committee. They had said they were making a presentation. I had warned them that Jay had said he was going to take all committee presentations out and decrease the ones that needed to be done to be concise, meaning like, can't have 123 slides in the KP budget type thing. And they were told that at that time, again, we only meet once a month. So this was 2 weeks ago. They were told at that time that they were still going to present the MAPC report, but it was going to be limited to 15 minutes. Now, I would venture to say, and this is, I don't know if the advisory board has any say in this, or if this is a Jay, it's a Jay Tallerman thing, or Blythe, if this is your area. I can honestly tell you, based on the conversations that I've had and based on the select board meeting last night, there are a lot of people who are very upset at the idea of holding this meeting indoors, even with social distancing, for 300 people for an hour or more. And so I would venture to say that someone probably needs to ask for a special meeting for MAPC, because it's going to get heated. That's not a conversation that, as you guys know, when they present it to us, it's not just going to be a short and quick presentation with no one weighing in. And I feel like because of the pandemic, this may not be the best time. Again, I'm not the deciding factor. I don't know who is.
Okay,
And I
actually,
don't know if anyone wants to discuss.
Kevin Calcutt actually has his hand up. Kevin, yes, did you have something to add?
Yes, over the course of our conversation with B1, this presentation was based on the attendance of our MAPC planner, Josh. He's already identified that he will not be able to attend in person. And if he was to give this presentation, it would be done via Zoom, which we told him was not going to be part of the technological capabilities of this meeting. So I do not believe that the B1 is looking to present anything at this meeting, and we'll be looking to do this in its own standalone meeting at a later date.
Okay.
I think that's a wise choice, just seeing as though I don't think people are going to be too keen on being indoors I think they're going to want to get through things as quickly as possible. So.
Understood. Thank you. Brian, you had your hand up. Brian Bichkowski.
I think I took it down.
Oh, okay.
Now I put it back up by accident again.
That's okay. I just have to comment on your wonderful fireplace. A little warm tonight, but nonetheless, it's looking very, very toasty.
It's a very slow burning flame.
Slower than the human eye can track. Okay. So thank you for that discussion. Article 12, I'm sorry, Susan Jacobson, yes.
So I just need a little clarification on Article 12. I have my notes here. So my notes indicate that 7 individuals voted to reject warrants being mailed to residents. Is that correct? And 1 person voted no. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That we are rejecting, that we are not approving.
Right, we will not be mailing them.
Well, that's a recommendation, yes.
Okay.
We would not be required to mail them, correct?
Correct.
That's a better way of saying it.
Yes, we are not, well.
Bylaws will not require us to mail them.
Correct.
Thank you.
Which brings us to Article 13.
Again,
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead. Yes,
Just for-
Susan.
just for clarification, because if someone tunes in to this week's meeting but did not tune in to last week, David is correct. It's saying that we're not required to mail both warrants, but as an advisory board, we have stated that we will mail the Springtown warrant and we will postcard and offer pickup for the Falltown warrant.
Or perhaps make another decision at that point.
Correct. We can make any decision we want at the time. I'm saying that is what we have said going forward, but I believe the gist of it is we're just not saying that you're going to require, we've IP'd it or
Good.
said no to requiring us to print both warrants.
And that
We
is
will
well
make that
said,
judgment
both,
best we can.
that is well said, both Susan and David. If either of you would like to later vote to write this up, that would be a thing of beauty. Okay, moving to Article 13, which we do need to take action on.
So Article 13 is the revolving funds. Of note this year is a removal of the fund for snow removal. The Department of Revenue has indicated to us that it's not appropriate to have such a fund, and any remaining balance would go back into the general fund to free cash. And the Board of Health had requested that a fund be established for tobacco control compliance. So those are the changes. All of the expenditure limits otherwise for all the others have stayed the same.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Mr. Lutz.
So do we charge for tobacco compliance checks? Is that how the revenue is generated?
I believe so.
And that, can someone tell me what the
It's
average
tobacco
charge is?
sales permit fees. So
Okay.
permit to sell them. That's the rate that pays for it.
And what is it the same charge for any size entity in Norfolk, or?
That one question I have to kick to the Board of Health. I don't know that.
Okay, it would be useful at town meeting to know how many of these licenses we have and what we charge, I think.
Sure.
Dave,
Okay. Brian, yes. Sir.
Arthur.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Todd, go ahead.
So Dave, I think we have 7 people or 7 businesses that need to have the compliance check. I believe the charge was currently $100 for the fee. So they would receive $700 in and then pay the expenses out of that account.
Thank you.
It's not a huge impact.
Thanks very much. Yep, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. Brian, you had a question.
If we are removing the revolving fund for the snow removal, how will we cover snow removal expenses if they exceed? Okay, sorry, Todd, go ahead.
2 different things. So Brian, we have a snow account that's for the town side.
Yeah.
We're going on all the town streets. This particular account was set up for all streets that were not accepted by the town. So we would charge, or we would invoice developers for removing snow on particular passageways, streetways, whatever you want to call them, that were not accepted by the town, but the developers paid us for that. And the monies would go in here. DLS, this account had been set up a long time before I even got here. But upon review with the DLS agent, when he came out, said, no, that should be treated as part of general fund revenues. And told me to close it out and basically put it as general fund. So we'll still get the monies in.
Okay.
Works out to be about $15,000-$16,000 a year.
Yep.
I'll just go through general funds now.
Okay. And it's paid for out of which account? Because the activities that are being done before they pay us?
So it would be coming out of the snow removal account.
Okay. All right. We're just not having a segregated revolving fund for that fee for service activity.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I see no additional questions. And this is something Blythe and Todd, we feel like we could act on. There's not going to be changes the day of. I'm seeing you shake your head. Yes, excellent. Okay, I'm ready to take motions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Article 13.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, so that was moved by Mr. Lutz and seconded. Who's
I'll
second?
write this up.
Kristen, I believe. Yes, Kristen.
I can write this up, Arthur,
Okay.
foreshorten our later meeting.
Nice. I love volunteering. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll try this by voice vote. All in favor of approving Article 13, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, passed unanimously. The ayes have it. And David will write it up. Okay, we already took action on Article 14, correct, Susan Jacobson?
Correct.
And 15. Now, move my notes here. We passed both, I believe. This is the CPC.
Correct. 15, 16, no, not
We
16.
skipped 16, yeah. Which we need, okay, I have this flag to take action. So why did we not pass this last time? There was a reason of some sort. Blythe, can you share?
I think it was like 10:30 at night.
Oh, okay, yes.
So Arthur, if you want, I can kind of give a quick synopsis of this because it's the Affordable Housing Trust, so I can put on my Affordable Housing Director hat.
Please do.
Across the Commonwealth, a few weeks after COVID-15 hit, PEPA, which is one of the big organizations for affordable housing, put out, if you will, a position on towns providing rental assistance to people below the affordable housing income limits. So the trust attended a CPC meeting. The chair of the trust attended a CPC meeting along with myself, and we spoke to them. The housing director for low-income housing attended as well, and we identified the number of families that we thought we were aware of. There could be some others that are under those income limits that could come to us, and CPC voted to give the trust $50,000 out of its affordable housing bucket, if you will, to use towards rental assistance. And it was, I don't know how many members they have, if they have 7 or 9, but it was all but one person abstained because they arrived late to the meeting, and the one person voted against it. The rest were in favor. I can tell you to date, I have received 4 applications. I have requested additional information from all 4 applicants, and there has been no rental assistance provided to anyone to date.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any questions about Article 16? I see a question from Brian. Yes, sir, your question.
Just quickly, when it says short-term rental assistance, is that because this is for temporary relief? It is not a long-term subsidy for housing?
Yes, Brian. So it's a 3-month rental assistance program. You have to keep it a short term to be able to do it the way that the state's recommended, so it doesn't become a long-term program. If it becomes a long-term program, then you cannot keep it specifically to the residents of Norfolk. You have to open it up to other towns. So it is a 3-month maximum, and it is a $1,500 total. So you could get $500 each month for 3 months.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David Lutz, your question, Mr. Lutz.
Sue, so you said that to date, no one's been awarded this. Is it because they did not qualify, or because you haven't reached a decision point yet?
It's because they filled out the applications, but I have requested some additional bank statements because some people have since been approved for some different funding sources, if you will, to assist them. And I need to capture all of it so that the trust can make an informed decision when they decide about these.
And then is the I don't know what the request the year before was, is the $50,000 request the sort of the normal one, or is it higher or lower, or?
So some communities are using housing consortiums, if you will, because they don't have individual affordable housing people. So theirs were much larger, but it could have been for 10 communities. Ours is, from what I've seen, ours is lower, but you know, I'm in meetings with people from here to Springfield, and you know, obviously the larger the town, the larger the amount.
Sure. So this is a new item this year?
Yes, and it's
Okay,
specifically related to the pandemic. It's not something that.
Okay, all right.
we're
Thank you.
looking to reoccur.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And the
Sure.
money will revert if you don't use it?
Correct.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Jonathan Hurwitz, your question.
Yeah. I'm sorry, just a question in my own understanding about the article and what's before the town. So, I mean, if this isn't approved, is there still money in this housing reserve already that that can be dispersed in this fashion? So the applications you may have received aren't necessarily voided because there's no funding. And this article is really to allocate $50,000 additional dollars. So it's not a yes or no vote on the program and disbursement of money. This is really just trying to allocate additional funding towards the existing program. Is that correct?
So the CPC has to provide 10% of what they receive towards affordable housing.
Yeah.
So this is money that maybe they're only required to give us 10%. They've been extremely generous over my 10 years of doing this. So they could, if this is voted down at town meeting, I don't want to speak for the trust, but we have had some conversation that the Affordable Housing Trust does have the ability to fund this. Right now, based on what I've seen right now, I don't think we're going to come close to this number, Jonathan, but without knowing what's coming with the pandemic and we're kind of in the same boat as the budget, right? So if things aren't as gloomy as maybe some people think they're going to be later in the fall and in early winter, then I don't think we're going to come close to this number. If it gets significantly worse, then we could come close to this number.
Yeah. Okay, so I just to play that back, this is not, we're not asking the town for an up or down vote on whether we want to pursue this and have funding towards this. This is more of, are we going to allocate the CPC funds?
Yeah,
Correct.
we are asking the town to vote to allow this money to come to the Affordable Housing Trust now. But the Affordable Housing Trust can react to these applications now without this funding. So,
okay, perfect.
Okay.
And then I'm sorry if I can ask just question number 2. You indicated there was, according to the rules, a 3-month cap. So it was about a $1,500 assessment allocation, if you will, per family. So is that can a single applicant reapply in the future, or is this truly like a per family cap, meaning if we were to spend up to the $50,000, then we could serve, what's the math, 33 families that way at $1,500 a pop? I'm just trying to get an understanding of how could this ultimately be distributed? How many people could it touch? Are there ways around that cap? Not that I'm asking for, what are the tricks, but could one family receive a grant, wait 3 months, receive another grant, right? Those kinds of things. Or what are your thoughts in terms of the kind of managing the disbursements?
So I think that during the 3-month period, one family is maxed out at the $1,500.
Yeah.
We would at that point close the program, and then if need be, we would be opening it up again for another 3-month period.
I see. Okay.
But we have to keep it, we have to, set the dates from this date to this date, and then at the end of that time, this program ends and we start a new program.
Okay, so in theory, a single family could receive a grant for more than one period.
Yeah, I would say yes.
With a new application, a new process. Okay.
Correct, and all new information, correct.
Very good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan. I see no other hands up. And any questions from anybody, the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll take motions.
Motion to approve Article 17 or 16, sorry.
Do we have
That
a
was
second?
me, Arthur.
Second.
So that would be Mr. Lutz, and Jonathan, I believe, got the second in. Okay, any discussion on the motion to approve Article 16? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of passing Article 16, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It passes unanimously. Okay,
Thank
now,
you.
okay, excellent. Now we're going to go into overdrive here. Susan Jacobson, I believe that we approved unanimously Articles 17 all the way through 22. Does that correlate with your notes?
Yes.
Look at
All
that.
the way, yes, through 22.
Which brings us to Article 23, which we IP'd. I don't recall, what was the vote unanimous on that? I'm trying to remember. This is the citizens petition, Article 23.
Yes, it was not unanimous.
Okay,
Yes, I have that as well.
excellent. Which brings us to Article 24, which we did pass, although it was not unanimous. What was the vote on that, Susan Jacobson? This was go ahead.
I would actually have to check the video. I don't have that written down, unfortunately.
Okay, again, this was the zoning question.
Right.
All right. So that takes care of all of the articles.
Was that the Betsy Whitney
Yes.
article?
Yes,
I believe there were 2 no's.
Okay. Thank you.
But I also believe David Lutz wasn't there, so that would mean it was only, I can't remember. So if we usually have 9, then that
5
would
or 6 to 2, I think, or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it was 6 to 2.
All righty. So, and that concludes.
Can I ask a
Yes.
quick question about that?
Yes.
Without revisiting the entire discussion, and I apologize for not being at last week's meeting. Was anyone from the planning board at the meeting?
No, there was, Rich McCarthy, who's the town planner, but I don't think you can count that.
No. Did they have an
No, but
opinion?
we had someone from zoning weigh in. But we did not
Okay.
have time for someone from planning because at that point we were at a point that there was no real objections. We discussed it in detail and we said that, with the information that we had, the thing is it wasn't really changing anything. It changes something slightly, but not enough to
All right.
really warrant something in depth, I think is the way we eventually settled on it. And just with the timing of it coming up so close to town meeting, we decided to just go ahead and vote on it.
Yeah, I recall it was an on-road versus off-road distinction.
Yeah, it was,
question,
and it's
fine.
only changing.
It was supposed to be a one sentence response.
I
question.
believe the planning board is planning to meet on this, though, as it.
They are meeting to discuss this, Dave, on June 16th.
And
Thank you.
Blythe has her hand up. Did you want to add something to this, Blythe?
Just, I was going to say their public hearing is 16th.
Yeah, as somebody who fell into the no category, I didn't feel comfortable going without them, but the good news is they will have a chance to weigh in prior to town meeting. So.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that, Arthur. Thank you.
Okay, so
Yes.
we will now.
David,
Yes.
just to clarify, David, it wasn't that we didn't want the input from planning board, but if they weren't meeting until the 16th, it put us in a position with not having a recommendation on the warrant. And we felt that what the way the write-up should say is that we are approving this as, in accordance with what the planning board says, basically.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so speaking of what we're going to say, let's talk about our article write-ups. Now, what we're going to do is figure out who wants to write up what. Now, these write-ups will be primarily used to then deliver your explanation on town meeting floor. So as folks may remember, the moderator will call on a specific individual who is responsible for that article, one of the 9 of us. That individual then makes the motions. Thankfully, Blythe is going to write up all of our motions for us. Thank you, Blythe. Once the motion is made, then the moderator recognizes you to then speak to the article. So we're asking that people volunteer to write up what they will be saying. The warrant itself will simply contain a one-line, we recommend IPing, we approve, we don't approve, or we withheld action or whatnot. So all that's going into the warrant itself is just a one-sentence, short and sweet, what the action was. And then your explanation, your narrative will then be delivered on town meeting floor. And in our longstanding tradition, we will go through and divide that up based upon who has interest and what their votes were. Any procedural questions about this before we go through and start assigning people articles?
No, but I would like to assign Jonathan the citizens petition that we IP'd.
Well,
I have a procedural question since
Kristen,
this is only
yes,
a
go
second
ahead.
meeting, or second town meeting. Can you remind those of us that are newer, once we write this up, who do we send it to? Or do we send it to anyone? Like, do we send it to Arthur and Susan? Do we send it to the whole board?
I don't believe we sent it to anybody. Susan Jacobson, did you have a perspective on that?
Sure, if you want to send it to me, I can put them all together so that everybody has a sheet of what's going to be said, just in case somebody has to pinch hit for somebody else.
Okay.
That's an
Okay.
excellent point. It's also nice having your motion right next to your write-up, and I appreciate you formatting it that way, Susan. That way there's less paper shuffling when you're up in front of the microphone.
And then my second statement was that Jackie said just assign her whatever. So let's see how that goes for her.
Oh, Jackie, boy, flirting
Wait,
with
I mean,
danger.
she's not
Flirting
here,
with
but she's
danger,
willing to
Susan.
take on some of these if we need to distribute equally.
That's very nice for Blythe. Yes, you had a comment.
Only have got one annual town meeting under my belt, but I thought the write-up went in the warrant. Am I wrong about that?
It has in the past. My understanding upon speaking with Susan is that we wanted to change that, or
Well, nope, I have last year's warrant in front of me. And last year's warrant said that, hold on one second, let me check the back.
You should look at the fall warrant because that's the one that we've done where Blythe took care of the write-ups and then we just did our recommendations. Because if you go to last spring's, it would actually be the way Stephen used to do them.
Yeah.
Nope, Blythe did it last spring.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Yep, she
Sorry, my
arrived in
bad.
April. So, Blythe, it just says the advisory committee recommends approval of this article. It has your box with town administrator comments, but it does
Okay.
not contain the motions.
I'm fine.
I
with
don't
it.
mean the motions. I thought the.
I mean, the write-ups.
Last fall, the write-ups were in there.
I'm
That's what I
fine with
remember.
including the write-ups. I mean, if there's some
I
people,
thought we were, yeah, I mean,
but go ahead, David.
we have, part of the purposes of mailing this with our recommendations in it is so people can read why we voted to do what we're doing. I want things to be mailed, and I've made that clear, and I'm sorry I wasn't at last week's meeting. But if you mail it with just a one line, the advisory board recommends approval, why bother? I mean, people don't get a chance to think about it before they get there.
Okay. Other comments? Blythe, was your hand still up, or?
Well, only to say that we are really rather short on time,
That
so
was my only concern.
I understand that.
that's
So
all.
everybody would have to have their motions to me by Friday morning.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that also factored into this. Are people comfortable? I mean, how about we do a little thumbs up, thumbs down, straw man vote? So go to your wonderful, now, if people would like to do write-ups, please indicate that as a yes. If people do not want to do write-ups, at least this time, or at least not have it printed in the warrant, please indicate by saying no.
So how do we say I'd like to do them, but I can't do them between now and Friday morning?
Which means you don't want to do them. That actually would be a no.
Yeah.
So please go to your participants icon and.
Todd
Well,
has his-
I will say, David, I think that I agree with you. The write-up, I've said that this is one of the reasons why I pushed to vote on the Betsy Whitney citizens petition for planning last week, is because I said if our argument on the other citizens petition, the motion is that the advisory board is an important aspect of the town voting process, and they are using our recommendations so that they don't have to get into the nitty gritty, and they can sort of, if they trust us, they can take, our opinion. I agree with you. Our write-up should absolutely be in there. So my suggestion would be, if that's also what you agree with, maybe if you get assigned one, it's a super easy one that's just a, here's why we IP'd it, 2-sentence ones, because there's a lot of them that are like that, and leave the more lengthy ones to someone who has the time to do it in time for Friday, if that's okay with you, obviously. I wouldn't want to tell
that's
you to
very-
assign yourself something that you weren't interested in, but that would.
That's a very interesting proposition. Most people, however, seem to be inclined to not do this. So Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I have now, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 yays and 3 nays. So okay, that's some folks who changed their votes. So yes, we are in fact now saying that we do want to do the write-ups. So okay, there we have it.
Can
So,
I ask?
yes, David, go ahead.
If I can,
Okay.
I voted yes, but I'll make it a qualified yes, which is just because we're in the majority in favor of doing it, I don't want to ask someone and put someone in an uncomfortable position who's saying they can't do it for whatever reason. I mean, it's not a requirement that we have it in the warrant. I mean, we certainly have lived through many town meetings without our recommendations written, and we just verbally present them. So, you know, even though I think from a majority perspective, we got X number of people that say they can do it by Friday, I wouldn't feel comfortable pushing that through and then saying,
Understood.
you know, sorry to the rest of you
Okay,
who
yeah.
can't do it by then.
Understood.
So I would say this should be unanimous. We can get it in by Friday, or we don't do it.
Well, let's try to see if we can just assign people who don't feel like they have the time, as Susan Klein was suggesting, the shorter articles. Let's see, perhaps if we can just get enough
Can I
people
ask
who
a- can I
can do
ask-
this.
Can I ask a quick question? about this?
Not quite yet, because we have Todd Lindmark next in line. Todd, yes, sir, you had a comment.
So based on the fall warrant, each of the articles would be listed with the article number, then a brief description of the article and what it's doing or changing, along with the town administrator's comment. And then it was the recommendation by the advisory board and 2 or 3 sentences for each item. So it shouldn't take very much.
Right, okay.
Hopefully that's correct.
Not the motions. Motions are separate.
Right.
Understood. Yeah, this is just about the write-ups.
How you felt.
Understood. Although some will, like the budget is going to take some splaining. Brian, yes, sir, you had a question.
I would just say that to be consistent with the idea of wanting a short meeting, preparing and giving information on why the recommendation is there it would advance that concept, as opposed to it being wide open until we're all in the same room together.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes. Then
It's related to this. Blythe, at last night's selectmen's meeting and in previous meetings, you've mentioned the idea that the moderator would like to have a consent calendar, which means there would be a bunch of articles bundled as yeses or IPs. Is he able to do that, or is this still up in the air? Because
Yes,
if
he's able to
do it, if he's able to do it, our recommendations really don't matter much.
So let me see if I can find the email. He and I have had an email conversation about that. The general bylaws allow for a consent calendar, because I asked him if it needed to be an article on the warrant and he said no. So let me see if I can find the email where he told me which numbers he was interested in. So
Like
While you're
CPC ones, but the new one should be rolled up into one, for instance.
While you're looking for that, I would say that, David, I think that what Brian said has some validity. If our recommendation is printed in the warrant, then we don't actually have to stand up and talk for 3 minutes each on why the advisory board voted the way they did. It would be there and we could just make the motion based on.
Right.
So it would make the meeting shorter, because they would have already seen our written recommendation versus
So-
having to stand up.
Yes, Blythe, go ahead.
found the email and I had suggested, and he agreed, articles 14, 15, and 17 through 19 all go on a consent calendar.
And none of the budget ones? None of the standard capital expense, blah, 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 blah stuff?
Well, so you're IPing the 2 capital items, 8 and 9.
Can't we roll them into an IP consent? I don't know. I'm not the
Well, if
moderator.
they're IP, they'd just be really quick.
Right, but whatever, okay.
And on the water and sewer, I would be generally inclined to agree with you, but we've done those differently this year. We've put the detail of the budget into the warrants rather than waiting for town meeting. So those
What
folks,
are you doing? I'm kidding.
those people are used to seeing it one way and now it's different. That might not.
Okay. All right, so there's only like 4 that he could roll up anyways. All right, never mind.
Thank you. Susan Klein, yes, you had a question.
Actually, I spoke while Blythe was looking
Very
for.
good. Todd,
the
did
thing.
you have an additional comment?
Yes, so in the Springtown warrant previous, the only thing that was included was no recommendations, just the advisory committee recommends approval of this article, no write-up.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah, and
that was-
I think we were unhappy about that because we wrote the recommendations under the assumption they were going to be in the warrant.
Well, Mr. McDonough wrote a very lengthy 3-page
Yes.
introduction for the warrant that I hope Arthur can at least replicate or come close to.
Oh, heavens, no. Oh,
It
heavens,
was
no.
pretty,
By Friday morning, Arthur.
Yes, so I will not be able to match the McDonough standard. I apologize in advance. I will, however, write a nice inspiring preamble. And I do agree with the general sentiment that it is nice to have our thinking high level, a couple paragraphs or sentences, nothing that long, for people to read before town meeting. So I do like that idea. And let's get to it. So article.
Last question before I roll over, if you don't mind, Sue, when you say
Yes.
Friday morning, do you mean 8 o'clock or 12 o'clock?
Let's compromise and say 10, because I really meant 8, but
All right.
I've got to get it to the printer by noon time.
Okay.
Thank you for the quick handoff and turnaround, Susan. Okay, so Article 1, we are,
Election.
we do not need to have a write-up on, correct?
Correct.
Article 2, this was what we IP'd. Volunteers for Article 2. Article 3, do these go together? Yes, we're talking about transfers. Perhaps somebody could
I'll do them both.
2, 3, and 4?
Well,
Let me look at 4.
4 is
Yeah,
the big
okay,
one.
I'll do 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you, David. Are you getting this down, Susan? Jacobson?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, which brings us to 5.
That's you, Arthur.
Budget. Now, I could do it, although we did have a write-up that Mr. Huff provided. Mike, did you have some thoughts on this? I mean, obviously this is the budget. It was one of our most split decisions, and there was so much discussion about it. I know Mike took a first crack at this. Did you have thoughts, Mike?
Just, I think it is super complicated, and what I was trying to do was just capture the nuance that we said that we had. It was part of our discussion. I would say that the, I think this is one that there was. I guess what I was hoping to do was put forward a starting place and then have everybody sort of agree what it would look like. I don't know if there'll be time for that, but there are opinions. Our opinions were varied. We had talked about maybe including some language in which, okay, if funding, returns, we're going
Yes.
to,
Restore, yes.
restore what we can. There was some select board. There were some opinions in the preceding select board meeting that they said that, yeah, they would do that. So I just wanted to give us a starting place to capture everybody's idea. I don't think anybody else has seen this.
No, you sent it to me. I was just going to bring it up tonight and see. I also, we don't have a ton of time to necessarily get into a 9-way editing match. Why don't we do this? If I understand you correctly, Mike, what you're saying is you were eager to do a first draft, and thank you. A blank page is a very intimidating thing. Thanks for doing that. Do you want to present this and orally deliver this on town meeting floor, or did you kind of want to just take a first crack and then hand this off to?
I mean, I'm super not eager to have the discussion. I mean, I could. I don't mind.
Well,
I guess what I wanted this board to do was I wanted to. Before I do that, I want to make sure that everybody's in agreement with what's being said.
That's a pretty high bar. I do very much want to then do justice. What I'll do is, why don't I take your draft? I'll go ahead and just go through that, give my sense of it. I will share it out to the committee, and if folks do have some suggestions, appreciate folks being light. I will do my best to capture the essence of what people were thinking on the different sides of the question. So I'll share that out. Why don't I go ahead and then present this on town meeting floor? Thank you for the first draft, and we'll at least get some comments in between now and Friday. I will strive to have that shared out by, let's say, Thursday afternoon or so. Do folks have Google Docs by chance?
Arthur,
Yes.
hi. We discussed, because it was such a contentious and split vote. We agreed in last week's meeting, or possibly the week before, that whoever wrote it up would be sure to make sure to include the fact that it was contentious and that it was split and that there were other options on the table. And
Yes.
Things like, should the town feel this isn't the right way to go, they are welcome to make a motion to put forth another, but just letting the town people know that they do have options. And I agree that, obviously I was the one who wanted it that, the strongest, I would say. And just that we agreed that all of our voices from the advisory board would be heard, and that not necessarily all writing it up, just making sure that whoever is in charge of writing it up makes sure
understood.
to mention all of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And now what I would, however, so I agree with 90% of that. The only thing that I would add is I really feel it's Jay Tollerman's responsibility to then explain what the options are to people who were there. So I don't feel comfortable putting in language to the effect of, and if you don't like this, please make a I understand. I think I understand where you're going. But
Yeah, sorry. You don't have to put that in. I
Okay.
just was saying, like,
Very good.
just make sure that it is, that
that it's
advisory
representative. Understood.
that the advisory board was looking for alternate options. I think
Understood.
that's a phrase that I would be comfortable saying.
Okay.
And that leaves it up to the town,
Very
basically.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was
So
going to second that. I think, we can be explicit that we pursued, 2 other options and we landed on this one being what we could agree on as a group, but that there were other specific options on the table, and that can lead people to wherever they need to get led to. But
and very importantly, emphasize the fact that the concerns about funding being restored. So I will also make sure that that's emphasized. Okay, so thank you for that. If you could list me, Susan, as the person who's responsible for that. I, again, appreciate your draft, Mike. Again, expect that tomorrow afternoon at some point, which brings us to, okay, now we are bundling, I believe you said 14, 15, and then 17 through 19, correct? Blythe, that's the consent calendar?
Were we
14
already on number 14? I thought the budget was like number 5.
Oh, I'm
What
sorry.
about
I'm
6,
sorry.
7, 8, and 9?
I'm sorry.
Correct.
I have too many sheets open. We're skipping. I'm skipping. Okay, yeah, sorry. That was Article 5.
And unfortunately, Arthur, I am on a cell phone having this meeting. So I don't have the actual warrant in front of me. I can obviously refer back to the email, but it's harder to do on a cell phone to go back and forth. So when you're asking, I'd be happy to volunteer. But if you just say, instead of saying number 6, if you would just tell me, just like, hey, this is the one, kind of thing.
Okay, so like describe what it is. Okay, so Article 5 is the salary and compensation question that we voted on. I'm sorry, wait a minute. Yeah, that's correct.
Article 5 is the budget.
I'm looking at an older one. Great, not helpful.
So Article 6.
6 is water department.
Water
Article 7
department.
is wastewater department.
Right, so they should go together.
Understood.
I can do
Article 5
those.
and 6 are going together.
6 and 7 are going together.
I'm sorry, 6 and 7 are going together. I don't know how this got messed up. Okay, 6 and 7 are going together. So again, Water Enterprise Fund, who volunteers for that?
Dave did. He said he'll take 6 and 7.
Thank you,
I just
Dave.
copied
Again.
from last year, so I don't have to write them up. So
That is pretty straightforward, which gets us to Article 8, which is the transfers, correct?
No, capital
Hang on, let me just go off of the screen. It's gonna
through
be-
cash funding.
it's an IP. It's an easy write-up.
Who
I'll do
would
that
like to
one.
do that?
I'll do that one.
All righty.
I have one more and I'm done, by the way. I've already volunteered for it, so.
Well, 8 and 9 probably go together.
They were both IP'd, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And I'm doing them both, I guess, right? Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Let's do it. Which brings us to Article 10, which
Is the special ed fund.
we're delaying, so we don't need to write up for that, correct?
Nope, we voted that.
Oh, we voted it. Okay. Special Education Fund. So go ahead. Who would like to take that?
Maybe
I don't
assign
know.
that one to Jackie since she's a teacher.
Susan, you were the one who defended this to the hilt.
Well, I was gonna take the last one with the planning just because I'm familiar a little bit with the zoning and the planning from being on the B1. But if you need me to take this one, I can.
I'm just making a statement.
I was just saying if we're gonna give Jackie one that has to do with education might be, at least in her wheelhouse.
I hesitate to give Jackie something knowing that the deadline is Friday, which she probably did not know going this. I'm happy to take that one.
Okay, so Article 10 goes to Kristen.
Kristen, if it comes up that one of the votes was present rather than for or against, I'm happy to speak on that when it comes to that point. So I voted present.
Okay, Article 11, committees.
We don't need to take a position.
Correct. Article 12, we did not support.
Hang on, Article 11, no position. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Which brings us to 12, which we voted no on.
Correct. We're not going to mail the warrants, or said more nicely for Dave. We have the option of mailing or not mailing.
Now, Dave's already voted for so much. Susan, would you like to artfully express?
Plus, I would have voted against this to begin with. So there we go. So
Yeah, I can take this one if you want, as well as the Betsy Whitney one. I can do
Thank
both
you.
of them.
Thank you, Susan.
And Susan Jacobson, would you just mind sending me that in an email?
Not at all.
I'm so sorry tonight. I'm sort of out of the loop with not having all my stuff with me.
Appreciate you
worries.
being able to connect it all. Article 13, we approved.
I already said I'd do this one.
Yes, David, I have you down for that. There's the revolving fund as well as.
Dave,
which
people are
takes
going
us,
to wonder what bet you lost.
I was just going to say, Dave, you're like, I can't get it done by Friday. And then you just picked like 8 warrants.
Most of the ones I picked is the same language as the last 10 years. So
Article 14, we approved.
Correct.
This is part of the bundle, right? We're in the bundle.
Yeah.
zone.
14 and
14,
15.
15, which means.
And then
we're back on
17.
16.
And then 17 through 19. So it's 14 through 19 with the exception of 16.
Who wants to do
right
that?
up is essentially, these are boilerplate language from annual. The CPC is required to do this per the law that we've adopted. Away we go. That's what this one is. It's pretty easy.
Do I have a volunteer? Again, this is 14, 15, 17, and through 19.
I can do that.
Brian, thank you very much.
Take a look at old ones, Brian, because it's the same language every year.
Or Brian, if you don't have old ones that are accessible, let me know tomorrow and I can copy and paste and send you some language.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I may or may not have old ones.
Okay, I'll just send, especially 14, 15. Yeah, so I should be able to send you the language for most of them.
Great. Thank you.
Article 16. This is CPC stuff too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But this is not a boilerplate. This is
new. Yeah.
New.
Right. This was the complex issue that we just discussed about authorization. Who would like?
I'll take that one. I don't have any yet.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate that. And now we power forward to Article 20. Submitted by the Planning Board. This was unanimously approved. I believe this goes nicely with Article 21 and 22. So Articles 20 through 22 are all Planning Board submitted modifications. Looking for volunteers. Is this something, Susan Klein, you would feel comfortable taking on, given that some of the stuff involves zoning?
I mean, I can, but I've already got 2 other semi-complicated ones. I don't
That's true.
know
That's.
if you want to, just with the Friday turnaround, I mean, if they were boilerplate, I wouldn't have a problem, but you know, they're not.
Understood.
So if somebody who doesn't have any yet, I mean, if there is no one who will volunteer, I will, but I'd rather not, just because of the Friday turnaround time. I mean, that really only leaves me tomorrow, because let's
Oh,
be honest, I'm not going to be
hear
up
you.
and emailing anybody by 10 o'clock in the morning.
I hear you.
Sorry, which,
Sorry, which ones in question?
yeah,
20?
sorry, I'm like a little.
So it's
20,
really a
21,
very,
22.
it's real, 21 is very easy. It's not 21, I'm sorry. We're on
20.
20, correct?
20.
So 20, Jonathan, is just striking the language that was in an affordable housing bylaw
Yep.
that said that a 2-family that looks like a single family could be allowed, and it can't.
That's fine. I'll take that one.
Okay, thank you.
And then 21 deals with getting rid of the assisted.
2-bedroom.
Right.
Yep, I'll take that one as well.
Thank you, Jonathan. And 22 is a road acceptance, correct?
Yeah, easy peasy.
I'll do it if no one else will.
You have a lot there, David.
You just put it out there.
I'll take it. I don't remember how to write those up, but I'll take it.
Kristen, I can send you the
Thanks, Kristen.
language, Kristen.
Okay,
Okay.
which brings us to Article 23. I know last night the citizen involved got the response from the select board that the select board very much would like to consider this as part of the next meeting. Is he going to withdraw 23?
I thought
No.
this is different.
2 different articles, Art. This was brought forward by
Oh, that's
Mr.
right.
Haddad and Mr. Rand.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm conflating them. Okay.
Well, I think that Mr. Chipman brought his to the select board because of this one's failure to pass, or at least failure to gain support.
So why don't I take this one? So I will do the budget article as well as the accounting degrees, which we all have talked about. Okay.
I've enrolled at school to get one of my accounting degree, just to let you know, so.
Well, don't forget, you need 4 years of experience after that. So we'll see you in like 8 years back here.
I've been doing my taxes for 20 years, 25 years. I can do this.
Okay, excellent. This is going to be an interesting one to write up. And then 24
Is Susan.
is Susan. Okay, so we have a fully accounted for.
I don't have to take that one if someone who doesn't have one would like it, but I can. Because there are people who don't have any yet. I don't know if anyone-
It seems like people are pretty comfortable. So Susan, thank you. Okay, the fund has been distributed. I know this is a short amount of time, so thank you very much for folks who were able to volunteer. I know not everyone is in that position. Okay, can we now move to the, oh, yes, Kristen, go ahead. I see.
So again, still new to this. If I have trouble remembering exactly the conversation we had around my article, should I ask that now or should I talk directly to Susan Jacobson to kind of jog my memory?
You can try asking now.
Okay, so the revolving fund for the schools was, if I recall correctly, it had been in the school budget, but it varied pretty wildly from year to year. And so there were a couple reasons Dr. Ilardi was considering it, which was to have a revolving fund so that it was kind of always there. And if it wasn't used, it would be there for a future year without having to kind of impact the annual budget numbers. Is that kind of the gist of it? Was there anything else I'm missing? I know, and the vote was, someone can remind me of exactly what the vote was, because I know it wasn't unanimous. It was
I voted present.
and the rest 4. Am I
So
missing
Susan
anything?
Jacobson, can you clarify the vote on that article? While she's looking that up, anyone want to share comments about?
One of the things I recall from the conversation was that there are no choices in terms of whether or not we pay for this. So we wanted to take this out of a budget process because the town would be on the hook no matter what.
Right. So
That
if,
is-
so if we don't budget for it because we have budget cuts, for example, we're gonna have to probably pay it anyway, and then it comes out of some other part of the budget.
No, not really.
Okay.
Yes, what Michael Huff said, no to what you said. What it is just to be clear, it has generally in the years past, it has been a line item
Mhm.
in Ingrid's school budget that she
Right.
is presenting.
Right.
What she said was, I took it out of the line item, not to reduce her budget, but just to be clear that it's not negotiable. So let's put it into this fund that we have no choice on, because if a child comes in that needs it, then you have to have it built into the budget. What it does is, by giving it its own fund, it no longer has to be in the school budget every year. And if they don't use it, it just stays there and rolls over.
Yeah.
Versus if you put it in a line item in the budget, I can't remember the amount that it was it 70,000? Somebody
125,000.
125,000. One child who comes in who has to be sent for outplacement is $100,000.
Right.
So what it does is it sits there, and then we don't have, if they use it, we have to replace it next year. But if they don't, we don't have to replace it. Whereas what they've been doing, it's been a line item in their budget. And then at the end of the year, it's some money they didn't spend. It comes back to the town, and then it's just back in the budget the next year.
Right.
So it saves us, technically what it does is it saves us from having to spend it every year if she doesn't use it. It would just roll over and stay in the school budget account. So that's a better way to describe
it. If it does get spent, where does it get replenished from?
It would have to be a line item next year, just a warrant. Yeah, it would be put back next year, but not in the school budget. It would be put back the same way we're doing it now.
Great. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. And it was a little more complicated than that. So.
Any other clarifications people would like?
And
on
Kristen,
articles?
if you have any questions, you know how to contact me. You can just shoot me a text.
Great.
Thank you, Susan. Any other clarifications people would like to make or request? Okay, next on our agenda, minutes. I believe we have 2 sets of minutes to approve. Susan, is that correct?
Susan Jacobson?
I think
She's on the phone.
Yeah, I think she's on the phone.
Sorry, it's the printer for the warrants. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Can I just finish telling him a time?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go right ahead. Okay, so
Minutes are, I sent them to her today. Hold on a sec. Sorry.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Minutes from 3/25, which was the meeting that we had with the, oops, hold on, wrong one. Want to get the first one first. What is this one? Yeah, 325 should have gone first, sorry. The minutes from 325, which was the meeting we had the DPW. And then the minutes from 4/1, which is the meeting we had with the 2 schools, the very long meeting.
Yes.
I've been through those, made some changes. The one from the DPW was pretty short. Obviously the school budget one was longer. I think Susan did a good job of capturing what everyone was looking at. And I just cleaned up some language and did some punctuation. And the same with the other one. I made like 3 changes to the DPW meeting. I think they're both fine. I can, if I can, I'm assuming I can request the motion, Arthur, or do you need to request the motion?
No, I'm ready for motions, please.
I would ask that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of 3/25/2020.
Do we have a second? Okay, and who seconded?
Huff.
Mike Huff. Okay, any discussion about the approval of the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It is unanimous.
I would make another motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the April 1st, 2020 meeting of the advisory committee.
Second.
Once again, seconded by Mike. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye in a voice vote. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Both sets of minutes are approved unanimously. Did you catch that? Oops, Susan's off. Okay. Okay, very good. I will follow up with her so she knows. Any other business or logistical things that people would like to discuss? I believe Susan will send out a message about where we will be meeting prior to town meeting itself.
Is it-
Yes, go ahead, David.
Did I miss, is it my understanding it might not happen on the day of the meeting, or you kept qualifying that, so I was confused?
We are assuming it will happen the day of, but Blythe has to verify that we have a place to go to.
Okay.
If Blythe cannot obtain a location, then we're going to have to get creative.
Okay. Parking lots.
I have two things, Arthur.
Yes, Susan, go ahead.
The first one is Blythe. I understand that we're having it indoors, and I completely understand the logic in that. But I would urge, I don't know if we can do it with a screen or microphones where it's just, where they can just hear it. But I would urge to have an area outside, near the entrance of the school, if you're still going to have it inside the school, where people who are not comfortable with coming inside, whether they're immunocompromised or whatever, at least have the option to stand outside. And should there need to be a hand vote for those people, someone can go outside and count them. I feel very strongly that should be an option. I understand that you've decided you don't want to move it to the football field. I've lost that battle, but I really think that there needs to be an option of people standing outside and still being counted.
I understand I'll need to talk with the school about that because I'm not sure what the logistics technically would be. Right now, they're planning to they can connect the auditorium, the gymnasium, and the cafeteria. So there's 3 different areas for people to spread out to.
Okay, thank you, Blythe. I appreciate that.
And the second thing is I would like to make a motion that we nickname one of the 2 Susans as either Sue or something similar, because when everyone says Susan, we always have to clarify which Susan you're asking. And sometimes it gets confusing. So I don't know if she wants to be Sue or if she would rather me be Sue or.
So I'm going to make it really simple, Sue. This is other than the meeting before town meeting, this is my last advisory board meeting. So there won't be any confusions between the 2 Sues.
Oh, come on.
Except I will be attending as a resident, and I will be very happy that I can feel more free to express my very quiet opinion at times.
Okay.
Nice.
I
Well,
would.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Nope, did we lose her?
Sue dropped off.
There she is.
That was her last one, I guess, huh?
Goodness.
Sorry.
We're
Sorry,
There
losing-
can
I'm
be
back.
only
Yeah.
one.
Mic
I'm
drop.
back. I was half joking about that, obviously, but I am very sad that this is your last meeting. I think that you serve a fantastic purpose to our board, and I have no idea if you're going to be replaced or not, but in essence, you're not really replaceable.
Well, thank you for your kind words.
And thank you very much, Susan. So it sounds like we do not need a second on the Sue versus Susan motion. I appreciate the thought. And we will strive to find someone to try to fill Susan's shoes whose name is in fact not Susan. Okay, moving along. That concludes the agenda. Are there any other comments that people have? Again, I appreciate you getting your articles in by, I believe we said 10 a.m. on Friday to Susan Jacobson. Please mail them there. If folks have questions, feel free to talk
you
amongst
said
themselves.
11:30.
I'm sorry?
I'm being a jackass, sorry.
Why, thank you, David. I appreciate that. I expect no less. I'm just giving you a hard time. Okay, so
One more thing, Arthur, apologies. I saw that you were writing things down. Can
Go ahead.
you just confirm for me. I know I'm doing Article 24. What is the other article that I'm doing?
Susan
You're doing
Jacobson.
Article 12.
Thank you.
Sure,
In fact, as Susan Jacobson, do you want to maybe just walk down the roll just to clarify who has what?
sure. Okay, so Article 1, we don't have to do. Article 2, 3, and 4 is Dave. Article 5 is Arthur. Article 6, 7, 8, and 9 is Dave. Article 10 is Kristen. Article 11, we take no position on. Article 12 is Susan. 13 is Dave. 14, 15 is Brian. 16 is John. 17, 18, 19 is Brian. 20 is John. 21 is John. Kristen is 22, Arthur is 23, and Susan is 24.
A quick procedural question. The ones that we take no position on, do we not still have to introduce them at the meeting? No.
The first, Article 1, no. Article 11 is the committee report,
report,
so
no.
no.
Yeah, we generally don't get up and yeah, that's not done. Thanks for clarifying. Okay, folks. Well, I appreciate your writing this thing up, and I'm happy to say that this brings us to the end of what must be the most complicated, contentious, and strange advisory board meeting session that I have ever had. So thank you for everyone's patience. I've learned a lot. I hope that you have all too, and appreciate folks making the best out of a very challenging situation. I will take motions to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Okay.
I think that was,
There you go, Mike, you and me, babe.
that's right, making it happen. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.
I just want to say one thing. Kevin's earpods made it through the meeting tonight.
Outstanding. Achievement unlocked. Thank you very much for that hard work and keep charging it, Kevin. I'm glad we didn't tax you.
And now we all have 3 hours to go write our report.
I will give out prizes for the people that get them in before 10 o'clock on Friday.
Ooh, Susan prizes, nice.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
the prize will be a copy of the warrant mailed to you.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thanks, good
Postage due.
night.
Yeah.
Good night.